What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the B1KER Bar. Welcome to the 45th episode. So, beginning of season 2. I'm super stoked about this. Today's guest we have on Seth from Seth Bike Hacks. How's it going, Seth?
Very good.
Right on, man. So here we are. We actually got it to work. Everything's going. I mean, this is a rare form for the biker live streams because usually there's something right out the gate that's just screwing up. So basically what I want to do though is just right before we get started, I want to thank everybody for showing up. This is the beginning of the second season. So this is something that'll be going on every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard, except for when it's not. So if you want to find out when it is and when it's not, then make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. That this is a new channel. So it used to be part of my biker channel, but recently I decided it'd probably be best if I separate them out. So before we get started, I did want to have a small short conversation with you guys about two different companies that decided to go ahead and help out with things. First of all, I have a company that I'm sure most of you guys have heard of. What have you ever heard of Tasco MTB, Seth?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of Tasco stuff.
You know what? Their stuff is been dialed. I was thinking about it today. Like, what am I going to say about Tasco? And I have probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 sets of their gloves and their socks. And I was thinking about it. I've been riding those for almost 2 years, and they're all still in good shape. I mean, so granted, I'm switching between gloves and socks. They're not like my only pair. But man, that's a pretty good run, you know.
You know what I love about Tasco is that anytime there's a bike festival or something, that's like the party booth. Like at Sedona, It was raining like crazy last year, and they had a fire going in there to keep people warm. They had like hot coffee and stuff, and everybody was like crowded in their booths. They're just like genuinely good time, good people. Yeah, no, Nate does a good job of getting people together, especially at those events. And I agree. It's Sedona Sea Otter is the same way. They always have a good group of people there. The one thing that I did want to mention though was today I tried out a new product of theirs. They just released a pair of shorts, and the company shorts that I've been wearing for years now, the ones that I had before was a model they stopped making. And whenever those finally wore out, I bought 4 new pairs of new ones. And I had this like no butt problem. So the new pair of shorts that I saw just kept like kind of falling down. Like everybody's seeing my butt crack the whole time we're riding. Not fun, right? So Tasco brought out this new pair of shorts and he's like, hey, you want to try them out? And I was like, you know what? I definitely want to try them out because even though I just bought all these shorts, I'm not really stoked with what's going on. So today I tried out these shorts and they're super comfortable, man. I'm totally impressed with it. They got this little pocket on the side. The scout shorts?
Yeah. They got this little
I haven't tried them yet. I have a set.
I got them probably a couple weeks ago. I just haven't put them on yet because I wanted to like really capture it, you know, and I decided, you know what, today they're sponsoring the podcast, so I have to give them out, put them on and see what they actually feel like. I've been impressed. They had this little pocket on the side for the phone where he's like, oh yeah, it's a little phone pocket. And when he first told me about it, I was like, whatever, dude, I don't care. And I put my phone in there just to try it because I usually carry it just in the front pocket. And no, it's dialed. Both the side pockets have zippers on it. Super comfortable. It has 2 buttons on the waist, where the other pair of shorts that I have has 2 button or 1 button and kind of like Velcro around it. And it just like, if I pull the straps on the side tight enough that they wouldn't like be falling off my butt, then the little button on the front would pop open. It's just like was a headache. And these shorts have been great all day. So thanks to Tasco for sponsoring this episode. And thanks for these shorts as well. I'm definitely hitting it up, getting some more. The other company that is sponsoring us is Project 321, and I want to mention them. I'm not sure, are you familiar with them?
I haven't heard of them.
So they're a small company. They started in down in Fresno, California, and whenever I first got back into mountain biking, I was riding a Cannondale. It had a lefty hub, and they were like one of the few companies that made lefty hubs, but like in colors, you know what I mean? So it was like, then they had that, and at the time they were using i9's internals. So it was like you could get this i9 hub essentially for like half the price. And since then, they've moved up to Bend because I think Jake likes the beer up there better. And they also have brought out their own internals on their hub. So they use magnets. And it's so the pawls don't wear out as well as quickly, and you don't have a problem with a broken spring. And they've been rock solid hubs. I actually was a customer for probably 10 years before we got to a point where they're now sponsoring the podcast. So if you ever get a chance, they're a smaller company. You'll oh, that's one thing too I wanted to mention. I'll throw this little banner up here real quick. They also extended a 10% discount to anybody watching this. So if you go to Project 321, you want to pick up some hubs right there. B1KER Baller. He didn't spell it with a 1 though. So
B1KER Bar Bowler. I like the code.
Right. So and so basically, if you want to go there, save yourself some money, go for it. And I definitely don't have enough good things to say about, or don't have bad things to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's always good,
here, right? So, anyways, let's get on here with what we're here for, man. Is to just sit down and have a chat and talk about what's up with Seth's bike hacks. So, one of the things when I first started watching your channel that I related to, I don't know if you like put these videos out somewhere, but there was like videos of you and your buddies like in the park, like riding bike and stuff like that. BMX back in the day. Was it like some kind of Instagram
I featured
stuff?
that in a few of my older videos.
Yeah. And when I saw that, I just completely related with you, because I grew up riding BMX, and what we would do is like, whatever day of the week was trash day, it was like the best day of the week because you could like jump over all the trash cans and you could do kickouts on all the recycling bins, and everybody in the neighborhood hated you. And we would just like ride around town and be like, hey, 5 miles on that side of town, there's this little booter that jumps out into the road, and your friends got to stand out there and
riding street.
Yeah.
Riding the street.
Yeah. So it was like, when I saw that stuff, I was like, man, I really related with you. And I think you're from the Northeast as well, right?
Yeah, New York.
So you're from New York.
From New York. So I grew up on Long Island, and yeah, BMX street riding is, it's a thing there like it is anywhere else in any suburban area.
I think especially, how old are you?
34.
I had to think about it for a minute, right?
I had to think about it. Yeah.
It's a trick question. So I think, generally are kind of in our age range. I'm 42, so I'm not too much older than you, but BMX was still like a big major part of being a kid. I don't know how much of a influence it has now compared to when we were in that age range. Like, I remember seeing the movie Rad when I was a kid, and it was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. You ever see that movie?
So Rad was a little before my generation. I was pretty much born around the time that movie was released.
Right.
But I, of course, have seen it.
Yeah.
And of course, it gets people excited. But I was riding BMX in the kind of the height of the props era, those props videos.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember those?
Can you explain it to me?
So it was just, it's like slasher videos, but for BMX. It's like every sport has their media outlets and magazines and things like that. And props videos, I forgot how often they came out, but it would just be a whole bunch of pros just hitting different things and just kind of aggregated into one video. And you would go to the bike shop and they'd have the props video playing, and your friend, maybe they had the DVD or the VHS even.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I was from that era, from props videos were what got me excited.
Yeah. So what was your first bike?
My first bike ever was probably a tricycle. And then
what was the first bike that you like look back on? You're like, man, that was awesome.
The one that I really look back on that was awesome was my Giant Commotion. So it was a mountain bike. It was, I guess, probably 24-inch wheels now that I think about it. So it was bigger. I thought those wheels were huge.
Right.
Because I had probably a 16 or something before that. So they were 24-inch wheels, and it was a 6-speed gear, derailleur. And that was it. It was full rigid. That was pretty much all a kid was going to get back in those days. If there were suspension forks, There were definitely suspension forks in the early 90s, but not on kids' bikes, as far as I know.
Yeah, definitely not. Because I remember my first like legit mountain bike was 93 or 94. It was a Giant, and the whole Giant line at that time was all rigid. Like the most expensive one you could get was $1,000, and it was a couple years, like a year or two after. I remember like the Rock Shocks came out, and it was like, oh my God, this is crazy. You could get a suspension fork. But I mean, the price of it was like, it sounds silly now. It was like $400, but like, like everybody back then was like, that's insane. I'm not paying for that for a fork.
Well, there's also inflation.
Right.
Early 90s, I was like $800.
Yeah.
But now that's like, it's kind of what you pay for a fork. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we have $3,000 forks now.
Right, exactly. I remember this dude showed up in our group because I was like this young kid that was like hanging out with a bunch of guys in their mid-30s riding mountain bikes. So my mom was dating this guy that was into it. And so I'd like BMX all day with my friends, and do all that stuff. And then on the weekends, I'd go ride with these dudes. And this one dude showed up with a full suspension bike. And it was like, I don't know, $1,500, $3,000. Maybe it was probably like $1,500. I mean, everybody was just like, I can't believe you spent that money. It was just like that guy's car was definitely not worth what that bike was. And so,
same as now.
Yeah. So you grew up in New York. What was like your whole childhood or?
Yeah, I didn't move away from New York until I think I was about 27 or so.
Oh, wow.
So I lived most of my life there, little pockets of time other places. But yeah, grew up in New York on Long Island. And when you grow up in New York, you're kind of raised to believe, I don't know if this is everybody, but I certainly was kind of, I thought that New York was the center of the world and everywhere else just sucks. And that if you live there, you just wish you could be in New York.
Right.
But it turns out that's not the case. There are a lot of, coming from, you're in Northern California, right?
Yeah, that's where I live now. I grew up in York, Pennsylvania, which was always confused with New York. Like I'd say York and they'd be like, oh, New York. No.
Oh, New York, right.
Like York, like the peppermint patty or the barbell. That's where
Here's how jaded people on Long Island are. So when you're on Long Island, So New York is separated. New York's a big state. So there's Long Island, there's New York City, then there's all sorts of stuff outside of New York City, downstate New York. And then there's upstate New York, Rochester and Syracuse and all that stuff. There's a lot of cities in New York.
Yeah, all the way up to like what, Buffalo up there, right?
When you're in Long Island, anything past Manhattan is upstate.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's upstate because you left Long Island. And Long Island is like this much of New York. And then there's all this. Yeah. So it's like, if you left Long Island, you went upstate. And I remember saying that and somebody's like, dude, Yonkers is not upstate. Like it's like 5 minutes outside of New York City. I'm like, it's upstate. It's New York State. They're like, dude.
Yeah.
The guys are just,
just in general back east, like people's like perception of how far things are away is like so different than where I live in California, where it's like an hour drive to San Francisco from where I live. And it's like, oh, that's not that far. But like back home, they're like, oh my God, I had to drive all the way across town. It's like 3 miles. You know what I mean?
Right. It's 3 miles, but it takes you half a day to get there. Like I remember, so I had a 45-minute commute to a job that I had in my 20s. And every morning I have to get up early and do that commute. Extremely stressful. Sometimes on the way home, because it was rush hour, it'd take me an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And then I forgot why it was. I think I was visiting back home and I was like, hey, I want to ride my bike to my old job. Mm-hmm. Which is, it was a commute. It was an hour and a half to get home. It was like 45 minutes to get there if I didn't hit some crazy traffic jam.
Right.
It was 15 miles. That's like less than what you would do on a morning road ride. A morning road ride is like 30 or better, right?
Yeah, totally.
It was 15 miles and it would like take a big part of my day was getting there and back. Yeah. And that was just what we were used to,
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's definitely, I definitely look at things different now at the age that I'm at and kind of things that I went through. Like I decided at one point that I wanted to start commuting to work just so I could like be able to.
Why would you want to do that?
Beer. Oh, basically because I was like, man, I'm not getting any thinner, and I do like drinking beer. So if I ride my bike to work, that's like a bunch of calories that I can burn. Then I can
bike commute to work.
Yeah,
totally. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
So I bought this single speed a couple of years ago and just started, and it's like a 15 miles, like one way. And fortunately, the job that I had at the time, and even the job I have now, has showers at the office. So it's like, it's pretty cool, man. You get to work in, about an hour, and it's not that bad,
When I was living in Fort Lauderdale, I was working from home, and I signed up for a co-working space, which those weren't as popular at the time. It was just becoming a thing. Like Regis and all that stuff. I don't know what the other ones are called. But anyway, this place was called Access Space, and it was really nice, and it was in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and it was a 5-minute skateboard ride from my house. And so I would wake up, I would put on my work clothes and skateboard to the co-working space, and then I would work there all day. I would have my lunch break with everybody, and then when I was done working, I would go home, and it helped me separate home from work. Like instead of working in the house. And I didn't really have that again until moving to Berm Peak, because now the garage is detached. So I put on my shoes, I put on clothes, I come in the garage and I work, I edit, and it's like when I'm done, I go back in the house. Yeah.
I think, probably a lot of people with what's going on in the country right now are like kind of facing those issues, and I think you have to get into some kind of routine that's similar to if you're actually working in an office, to like just kind of mentally get yourself in the right space,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm really lazy, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go walk upstairs and do it. So for me, like I can talk about how it should be and what you need to do, but I actually don't practice it very well at all. So what got you into biking, dude? Did your just your friends, just because of being a young kid and that was what was cool at the time, or like your dad was into it? Or
I wouldn't say my dad was into it, but he definitely, if anything, my dad just took bikes for granted. It's like, of course you ride bikes everywhere, Right. He wasn't like into it. He didn't have the clothes. I don't think I owned a helmet until way down the line. But my dad grew up in Brooklyn, and so he rode his bike everywhere.
Right.
When he had one, when it hadn't been stolen recently.
Yeah.
But anyway, he rode his bike everywhere. And when I was really little, I think I learned to ride a 2-wheeler when I was 3.
Oh, right on. Wow, that's really young.
He took me out one day and so what he would do is, probably even today, training wheels have an oblong hole to mount to the axle. It's like a big oval.
Yeah, so you can pull them up as the kid gets better.
Right. So as I was riding it, he just kept moving them higher and higher every day until I was just like early 3 years old, and just zipping down the street, and the wheels would just be off the ground. So finally he took them off, and we went for a couple of runs, and I fell a couple of times. I got scraped up, and then my mom probably got pissed. I don't remember, but I was riding a 2-wheeler, and from then on, and it was funny because it was a tiny bike. It wasn't even a 16.
Yeah.
It was like what's the next wheel size after that? Like a 12 or something?
Yeah, probably 12.
This was a hilariously small bike, and I was riding a 2-wheeler, so that balance was kind of burned into my memory at a really young age. And so I've been riding bikes since. So after that bike was probably like, a 16 or something like that, which was probably really big at the time for me.
They got those little Striders now, man. Those kids are starting out like super
It's a new day.
Yeah.
They got cool. That was the smartest thing ever, the Striders, because it's like you can just keep putting your foot down. And I see kids that are like, they're toddlers.
Yeah.
And they're balanced. That has been burned into their memory.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Like you're getting them on a bike, you're getting them out to do something. But when they're little, dude, you need to tire those little guys out, man. So here, let's go walk around the block a few times. And,
oh, yeah.
Burn that little guy in.
Oh, yeah. Well, right now with Oscar, we're doing that every night. We're like, let's just hike him to the bottom of Moonshangle and then sprint up. And he's got to like kick up low and try to get after us, else we'll never sleep.
That's good stuff, man. What made you guys decide to get another dog?
I mean, Amy's wanted to get a dog for years. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, we already have the best dog in the world. Like, you know, why are we going to get another dog? And you can just say no every single day for 10 years.
Yeah.
You say yes once and you have a dog.
Yeah, that's weird. Like overnight, right?
Well, not really, because, you know, he's a Frenchie. We want to make sure we're getting him from somebody responsible and all that when we do our research. So it took about a month and a half to get Oscar, but
as soon as you say yes, dude, that trigger's been pulled, man. You know,
there's no way. I'm like, you know what? I was thinking about it. Maybe, you know, we shouldn't get a dog.
Yeah.
So now it's just the main reason I love Oscar and drama almost as much as not having dogs.
Yeah.
It's an anchor that just keeps you at the house. And if you go somewhere, you got to run home at a certain point to get to the dog. Now, we're in a good situation because we don't really need to go anywhere. And Amy stays home, so she can always watch the pups. But there are times when it's really, like, we went to Whistler. We took drama to Whistler.
Yeah, no, I remember you guys did that road trip too. You had him with you. I guess that was the trip, huh?
No, that was a different road trip. We take drama whenever we go anywhere, but the problem is you start looking for Airbnbs or hotels someplace, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is nice, tons of options. And then you go to filter, and then you click pet friendly, and it's like, and you have nothing. You just have to take what you can get.
Yeah. We have a lab. We have a big old lab. We used to have a small Jack Russell, and she got pretty old, and we had to put her down I think it's 2 years. We were talking about it yesterday.
Oh, that's terrible.
And yeah, you know, man, that really sucked. Like every other dog that I've had in my life, for whatever reason, like I never went through that process. So it was like, it was the dog at my parents' house or whatever. And it's like, I moved away, and then that happened while I was gone. You know what I mean? Like, it was like I had another lab younger in my life when I was with my ex-wife, and whenever I moved, she kept the dog, and then she ended up getting rid of it. And I was like, dude, I would have kept him if you would have told me you were getting rid of him.
I don't understand the concept of getting rid of a dog.
Yeah, she was amazing too, because she like got rid of him and then got another dog like 6 months later. I was like,
that's what a lot of people who get rid of dogs do.
Yeah. I wasn't really impressed with that. But yeah, anyway, so that was the first time I like went through like that, actually, like that process, you know, and then sometimes like, you know, I don't know if it's just being a man or whatever. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep my shit together, man. This is good. You know, and like, I was trying to be really strong for Katie, cause like it was her dog, you know. It's kind of like, you know, if you know, Amy's dog, it was Drowns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, I was like, dude, I gotta be like, you know, solid, and we're you know, keep my head together.
Right.
Man, so I was like, you know, she was kind of getting like dementia, and or not dementia, she was having like seizures, and it got to a point where it was like, babe,
yeah,
like, we can't do this. Like, I know you're holding on because you don't want that to happen, but like, this is not right. Like,
that's not fair.
Yeah, you know what I mean? She's like,
yeah.
And so I was like, I'll call, and she's like, okay, let's wait till tomorrow. And I was like, all right, okay. So in the morning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna call. And dude, I had my stuff together, like I was rock solid until that lady answered the phone, and I went from like being like all together to like, oh, to bring my dog down. it was pathetic, man. So.
Well, they're your little buddies, you know, and they're, you know, they're the only ones that are always happy to see you.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, I mean, I can tell from like what you guys, the way that your dogs in your videos and stuff, like you guys do a lot with your dog too. Like some people have dogs that are just like in their house or in their yard.
Right.
Like,
it's just,
you know what I mean?
It's just another possession.
Yeah. Like with her, like we would go down to the river, and she'd like sit on her kayaks, and we'd float down the river with her, and, you know, all the road trips and all whatever, you know, it's like, so anyways, so now we got this big old lab, and he just turned 4. So he's like, labs like in between like 3 and 5 is when they actually start being good dogs. And Katie's like, oh, we should get him a friend.
No. You got a 4-year-old lab.
Right.
Yeah. I think when we got Oscar, my dad was the most disappointed in me. He's like, why did you do that? like, don't you want to go places? Like, you had such a good thing going. Like, how did you mess it up? You know? And I'm like, I don't know. I said yes. But he's Drama's little buddy. They're both little buddies. They're, Drama gets annoyed with him every once in a while. He's pretty high strung, but we love him.
Yeah.
We love
That's good stuff. Fortunately, Katie's parents have a ranch. And so if we're going somewhere, we can take him down there and he's just leave him out there with the cows and the Well, it's like, she says ranch. And I think, like it's one of those things where people that grow up on what is called a ranch, like all of a sudden they forget like the rest of the world doesn't know what you're talking about. So like I would have thought cows right away, but it's a pear ranch actually. So they do grow pears down on the Delta. So it's just
pears?
Pears, yeah. So apparently most of the pears in the US come from California.
I thought that was a grove or an orchard or something. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe it's probably a pear orchard, but they call it a ranch. I don't know why they call it a ranch.
I think that's also like a West Coast thing. Like in the East Coast, we don't call anything a ranch,
right? That's probably what it is. I don't know. She told me she grew up on an island whenever I first met her, and I was like in my head, like thinking like 2 palm trees and a little beach. I'm like, there's just rivers around this big piece of land that you're calling an island. This is not like
a real island. There's like Target, Kohl's,
right? So it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's a California thing, and I just don't get it. Either way, so let's go back to New York City. So you're there. Like, what'd you do in high school?
So. Didn't live in New York City. I lived in Long Island, which is a suburb outside of New York City. And it's sort of, it's in a way, one of the most geographically isolated places in the United States. Mm-hmm. In a way, because if you live on Long Island, if you want to go anywhere else, you basically have to go through New York City. You can go over the Throgs Neck Bridge and get to what us Long Islanders call upstate New York, right. Or Westchester, or wherever. But it's pretty much, if you live in Eastern Long Island or even Central Long Island, you have to go through the thick of it to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so we don't. So you can look at trail forks and you can see, I have a mountain bike trail 25 miles away. It's right over there in Connecticut, and you jump in your car and you're there 6 hours later. Because you're just absolutely in just stop and go traffic all the way over the Throgs Neck. And so we don't go anywhere. So our entire world is in Long Island, and then we convince ourselves that it's the best place in the world. And you have with 15 miles from someplace else where there's a completely different accent, there's a completely different vernacular. You talk to somebody from even the South Shore of Long Island and the North Shore of Long Island, and they sound like 2 completely different people. Yeah. And that's like really close. Really, really close.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. I mean, where I'm from too, it's like York County compared to Lancaster County. Lancaster is what most people know of, like the Amish people and stuff. They're all over there. And it's just definitely, it's different. I think it's because like whenever that, area was coming through time, you had these pockets of different foreigners that would live in different areas, so like where I grew up, there's a lot of Germans where I'm from, but then like right over in this other area, there's a bunch of Dutch people, and then they ended up being what they call Pennsylvania Dutch, which is like sort of German, sort of Dutch, sort of like they had this like language that wasn't even like either one of those languages,
Sounds like Long Island.
Right.
On Long Island, you have Jews and Italians.
Yeah.
And people mistake me for an Italian, but I'm actually a Jew.
Oh, is that what your background was? I was going to ask you that, man. So you guys got that. Did you grow up with that? You like did bar mitzvah and stuff like that?
I didn't have a bar mitzvah. I'm not religious. My parents aren't that religious, but they're both Jews. So we have a gene pool that goes really far back. We're I guess we have a lot in common with Jews in some ways, but I guess I kind of have a little bit of the nose, but on Long Island, there's synagogues everywhere. There's this I'm in North Carolina right now, and there's churches everywhere. It's like that with synagogues on Long Island, and churches are kind of tucked away. The synagogues are the big fancy ones. They're just out on the corner.
So I'm gonna ask you this. I don't know why this came to me, but so you're from this area in the northeast. I kind of know where it came from in my head, but it'd be a rabbit hole of me to explain it to you. You got this thing for tacos on your channel, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So was tacos a thing that you did whenever you were there in New York? Because I'll tell you right now, when I moved to California, the only like Mexican food that I ever had in my life was from like Taco Bell or like the school made tacos, right? So like I first came out here, I ordered like 2 burritos and a taco at this Mexican restaurant. And my uncle was like, whoa, calm down. You know, like
that's gonna be a lot of food.
Yeah, he's like, maybe 1 burrito. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like in my mind, that was it. You know, like the 6-inch, like 2 inches wide thing is a burrito, you know? So did you grow up with that like Mexican food there? Or
there's really good Mexican food in New York.
Okay, see where I'm from, it's not that way, man.
And then everything in between, El Salvadorian food. I mean, just amazing stuff. But the taco thing on my channel, I mean, look, who doesn't like tacos? I think I mentioned it once, and the response I got from the audience was like, they really like tacos too.
Yeah.
And so like, and so it kind of made it a thing. I kept bringing it up, and I do. At the time when I first started the channel, the trails that I rode most, there was a really good taco place on the way home on the service road, and I would go to it every single time. So I always associate tacos with bike riding, but I'm not like obsessed with tacos or anything. I like lots of different types of food.
For me, growing up, like Italian food was a big part of
me too.
And it's like back east, you know. Fortunately, things are getting better now that, you know.
Yeah, everywhere is everywhere with the internet now.
Like when I was a kid, like there were certain things that my aunt that lived out here in California would always be calling home and like, hey, mail these to me, because you couldn't buy them. You know, and it's like now that stuff's in the grocery store. You're driving down here, bring some bagels. Yeah. We're like back home though, like I grew up with like great Italian food and pizza and like stromboli. Like people didn't know what stromboli was when I first came to California. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, you explain it to them, they'd be like, no, that's a calzone. I'd be like, no, it's not.
You know what I can't find here anywhere? I've been to fancy bakeries and everything. I can't find them. Rainbow cookies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I'm trying to like actually place that right now.
Oh, yeah.
What's the rainbow?
They have like a very almondy kind of taste, and it's pink, yellow, and I believe blue, like layer cake that's about this tall, and they come in these little cubes.
Yeah, I think.
And in New York, they're everywhere. In Florida, Miami metro area, they're everywhere. Here, you can't get them, and we have Publix here, the grocery store. And I said, Publix will have rainbow cookies. They have an entire aisle that's just rainbow cookies. Nobody had any idea what we were talking about.
It's funny how when you go around, you travel around, how things are just like something that you just took for granted. Like when I first moved to California, there's a chip company back home that made kettle cooked chips. And that's like what I grew up eating, is those thick kettle cooked chips. Totally. When I moved out here, the only thing they had was like Pringles and Lay's. I was like, this is not a chip, man. This is like a poor excuse for a chip.
Right.
It took like 15 years. And shit, man, I've been out here for a while.
Now they're mainstream.
Yeah. There's like 10 different brands, you know. It's like even Lay's,
I would always have kettle cooked chips at my grandparents' house when I was really little. They're everywhere.
I don't know. You guys might have had, do you have Martin's over there in New York when you grew up? Martin's chips?
I don't think so.
Probably not. I'm sure you guys had the pretzels that we had. Snyder's, I think they were pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I ate whatever my mom bought for us to eat. So I don't know. Maybe they were there and she didn't buy them.
Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but the few things that we could get our hands on, we definitely were all in on.
You got the good stuff.
Yeah, there's this dip back home called the Hell of a Good Dip. Man, I love that stuff. And I can't get, like, I saw it on Amazon. Like I could order it on there, but it'd be like $65 in shipping for like a $5 chip dip. Yeah. Have you ever done anything like that? Ordered something ridiculous from home, just paid the shipping, and didn't even care?
Oh, all the time.
What's that? You know that movie? It's like with Meg Ryan in it. She like has a little.
Oh, I'm not going to know what it is.
It's
any movie. I'll say I have no idea.
No. Okay. There's a movie where there's a restaurant in New York City that the scene in the movie takes place in. That's pretty well known because she I don't know how to say it PG, so I'll just leave it at that. She has a very strong emotional moment that happens at this table while they're in this restaurant. It's a Jewish restaurant, actually. And I can't.
That's something you'll only find in New York or California, probably.
I can't believe I'm like
in the U.S. at least.
Totally blanking the name of the restaurant. Like if I said the name of the restaurant, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, been there freaking 10 times." Anyways, they make these pickles there that my lady likes, and I ordered them for her birthday one year, and it was like $80 in shipping. I was like, I don't know.
Oh,
yeah, it was just like something where she just loves them. You know what I mean? Man. It was like such a great surprise, but it was.
Were they half sours?
Huh?
Half sours?
They're like fresh. It's like a fresh pickle.
So it's more green.
Yeah, and it's
not like dark green. Yeah, that's a half sour, and that's really, really popular at Jewish delis and diners and things in New York. And I barely see. You can get them from the grocery store, but I don't really see them anywhere, except like Ben's Deli in New York has really good pickles. They put out a whole metal kind of a bowl of them at the side of the table for you to eat.
Katz, that's what it is. Katz Deli.
Katz Deli.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have been there.
Yeah, it's in New York City. I think it's just like really popular from that movie. I can't remember what it was, like Harry Met Sally or something like that. Somebody in the comments, let me know. Yeah, everybody's saying it right there. If I would just open my freaking eyes up. Yeah. So
I had it on a different screen here. I see it now. Now this is these are YouTube comments. Wow. Mm-hmm. This StreamYard thing is pretty
pulls it up. It's pretty cool. You know, I could take something like this here and just throw this guy up, Tony Piazza, saying, "Hey, it's when Harry met Sally." But
okay. Yeah, I like having the comments up there. I didn't see any of them.
Throws it up. So normally I try to like kind of keep an eye on what's going on over there, but I don't want to like interrupt the conversation.
Sure.
Just to like, so I try to keep it a happy balance, right? So basically you're riding bike. Why the mountain bike then? If you were doing all the street, like what got you into the mountain bike?
So it's actually a natural progression for a lot of people. A lot of my friends that I've lost touch with that rode BMX, like I look them up now and they're mountain biking.
Yeah.
And mountain bikes especially. So my friend Scott said it best. He said, I always thought mountain bikes were like less amped up than BMX. Mm-hmm. Like it's sort of less, it's less aggro. That's not really the case these days. Mountain bikes have changed a lot. It used to be like a road bike with beefy frame and knobby tires.
Yeah, and even the beefy frame was like...
The geometry is getting closer and closer and closer to a BMX. When you drop that dropper post, you can pull up, you can jump, you can do all the stuff you can do on a BMX or dirt jump bike maybe to a lesser degree because it's still got a pedal, right? But it's obvious to go to mountain biking. I can't grind on people's handrails and go out in front of like Target and jump over the big red things, I can't do that anymore. I'll get arrested. A kid does it, you say, yeah, get out of here, kid. Right. But if I can't do that anymore, and who am I going to do it with?
Right.
14-year-olds. Nothing against 14-year-olds, but I want to hang out with people my age. So it's like mountain biking. And then when you start mountain biking, first of all, not only can I not do BMX right now, but when I was a kid, it was very hard to mountain bike. Somebody would have to drive me to the trailhead. I couldn't go out, Long Island by myself, just riding down main roads. Somebody have to drive me to the trailhead. Probably wasn't so accepted to just go out there alone. There weren't these sort of intuitive trail systems, like a place like Kingdom Trails. You see kids out there by themselves. You probably didn't see much, 12-year-olds and stuff out on the trails in Long Island.
Yeah, I was fortunate that my mom's boyfriend was taking me, so like that's kind of what
that's awesome
for me. So it was, And then I think, you know, where I lived, there's like little trails all over the place. Like it was probably just like somebody, you know, 40 years ago decided to walk through the woods to get to the other part of town. And now it's like a trail that everybody knows about.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But whenever mountain biking first started, it's exactly like what you were saying. Like it definitely wasn't defined like it is now. And I mean, we were initially riding, like when we first started mountain biking, there was no rule that you couldn't mountain bike anywhere. So any hiking trail we were riding.
Oh yeah, it was open season on anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything with dirt.
Yeah, you know.
Totally.
And
but
there's a lot
not only
of like,
could I not
go ahead.
Not only could I kind of not mountain bike. So I couldn't mountain bike back then when I was a kid, unless, you know, my dad took me. Mm-hmm. And now I can't BMX as much. I can go to a skate park or something. I can't really ride street. Yeah. But I can mountain bike. I mean, I can buy a piece of property and build trails on it. I can do whatever I want now because I'm an adult. And so when you start mountain biking as an adult, you realize what you were missing out on. And so obviously I'm going to do that all the time. And it's not that I necessarily like it better than BMX. When I was a kid, I liked BMX better, but I had the ecosystem. I had the street. I had the being kind of it's socially acceptable for me to do anything because I was a dumb kid. And I had the friends to do it with. Yeah. Now I have the friends to mountain bike with. I have the big kid toys and access to just take myself out wherever I want. So it's a natural progression, I think, for a lot of people.
Even the BMX that I was doing when I was young was like, it was like, yeah, we would ride street some, but other places would be like, maybe you would even call it like almost like dirt jumping kind of stuff, where it was like you rode down this because nobody has fences where I grew up. So it's like you ride down in between this valley between these two houses, and then you hit this what's really like a tabletop, but it's like a alleyway that goes through somebody's property, right?
Right.
So you hit this tabletop.
Sounds like riding the street on a mountain bike.
Right. So it's like I kind of like had this like. Even on the BMX bike, we were kind of riding in the dirt a lot too. So it was, and then we would go in town and do the stuff like where I was talking about, you know, like you got two buddies standing out in the street. Okay, it's safe, you know, and then you go hit this jump or whatever. But I think when I got into mountain biking, it was like, that's what I did with these old guys. And then I still rode BMX with all my kids my age. And then I took a break. I think a lot of people took a break somewhere in their 20s or something like that. And
whenever there's a transitional period.
Yeah. And whenever I got back into it, it was like, man, I'm too big to be on a BMX bike and it hurts a lot when I fall. So I'm gonna stick with this.
That's especially in the last few years, I've become a lot more cognizant about what can happen when you fall.
Yeah, I know you have the separated color, right?
Yeah, I have a big bump right here.
Yeah, just I got one of those too.
Doesn't look good.
How'd that happen?
I just bunny hopped over a fence and my back wheel hooked onto it and I just went on my shoulder. Really dumb stuff. Like I was just riding someplace on my single speed hardtail.
Yeah.
And that happened. This happened on Berm Creek, the collarbone. So it's actually both on the same, is it? Yeah, it's both on the same side. Yeah, you know, it happens. And I've been more careful somewhat.
I always thought that I kept myself reined in enough that I wouldn't have a major injury. You know, like I'd be like, hey, I'm pushing it. I'm getting better. But I know like not to just like go like crazy, right? And whenever I separated my shoulder, it was because my fork failed. And that like changed my perspective on everything because I never really thought about a component failing that's going to cause me to get screwed up. I always thought it was like something in my control. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, like
there
it was always
so
like
many variables.
Yeah, I never once thought about it. You know, I was like, holy crap. Okay.
Well, it's the same thing with driving. People think, oh, I'm a safe driver. And it's like, yeah, well, you know, an elk didn't run out in the middle of the road while you're going around that corner and cause you to steer off the road, you know?
Right.
So you're lucky.
But you moved down to Florida. How'd that happen?
I did it for school. So, and I just despise the cold. When I was a kid, I just associated winter with the time when you have to go to school and you can't do anything fun and everything sucks. And obviously summer's better.
Yeah.
And Florida was this wondrous place. It's like, it doesn't even get chilly. Like it's just hot year round. You can swim year round. You can go to the beach year round. Obviously that's better. Why doesn't everybody just live there?
Right.
And so I moved there for a little while and there's mosquitoes all the time.
Yeah.
And
growing up in the Northeast, it must be something, because that's exactly how I felt about moving to California. I was like,
yeah,
winter just sucks. Like you grew up, you're like, the only good thing that happened at winter was like Christmas and snow days.
And snow days were cool, but I mean, I didn't celebrate Christmas. So it was like winter was just terrible every single day. I was just depressed and just waiting for summer always. And then summer was just awesome every day. So, but I moved down to Florida, and Florida gets a lot of unfair, everybody just picks on Florida, but there's a lot of different parts of Florida. It's one of the most populated states.
Yeah.
Everybody picks on it, but there are a lot of different parts. If you're down in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, or Tampa, if you're in the cities in Florida, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of really good food. There's a lot of good stuff to do. And it's really a fun place. I enjoyed my time in Florida a lot. And the mountain bike community there blows away any mountain bike community I've seen anywhere in terms of contributing to the trails.
That's awesome.
So like Virginia Key Park, there was a hurricane. Every trail was complete. I mean, you couldn't even see where the trails were when it was done. It was every tree came down in this area. And I think, what did Frenchie tell me? It was like 800 people attended one day to volunteer. Like something ridiculous. They couldn't even manage the people. There were so many people that wanted to help dig. And now they have more mileage than from before the hurricane.
That's so cool. That's really so cool.
And so the community there is insane. They build some really good stuff. Now they're starting to build jumps because it's finally like they're a little bit behind in the kind of like attitudes outside of mountain biking, but everybody's working really hard to change the perceptions and everything. And now there's jumps everywhere, and Florida's just flourishing. I mean, year round you can build. They have a lot of places they can build. You're not going to have a downhill park. It's not going to be gravity fueled stuff.
One of my friends that lives down in Florida said that somewhere where he was living, they had some kind of like mountain biking set up in a quarry. So they would get their downhill stuff into the quarry.
Santos. Vortex pit. So that's the Vortex pit at Santos.
Oh, right on. So that's down that area too?
And it's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome. That's in Ocala. That's kind of out there. That is kind of out where the Florida stuff happens.
Yeah.
But
what'd you go to school for?
Oh man, I started off going for liberal arts, and then I switched to electrical engineering, and then I switched back to business. And I don't have a degree in anything. I just went to a whole bunch of school. I think I have an associate's degree in science or something like that. When I got close to finishing my bachelor's in business, I started my web development company and actually started making money. And I was like, nobody's asked me for my degree yet, so I'm going to just keep going with this. And all I had were electives. Like I got probably 12 credits away from a bachelor's degree, but I didn't want to spend the money and I didn't want to waste the time, because it's like, I felt like I was wasting time. And looking back on it, I totally was. I should have just went straight into working.
Yeah.
But college really helped me write, because you have to write so much in college. You have to write essays every single week. And I got A's on all those essays because I wouldn't accept anything less. And it really helped me become a better writer. And so I'm glad I went to college. I don't know if I was at the maturity level where I would have done something really productive at the time. So it's probably better that I was just going to school.
Yeah, I hear you. I was in the military, and then after I got out of the military, I went to school. And I was pretty motivated when I went to school, but I did something similar. Like I went through a whole program of to be a recording artist, like a sound engineer, and then basically got offered a job at a major studio, and then was like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. And then, so I took all these like computer classes, and I was like just working on like my general ed so I could go to get a bachelor's degree, but I was taking all these computer classes because I thought they were fun. And then all of a sudden they started like actually having degrees for all those classes I took. And I was like, oh, I guess I could just like go take a test in this one class. And then I got a couple of degrees, and kind of fell into doing IT that way. Did you do a job like doing some kind of like stereo stuff?
Yeah. So I have way more experience with vehicle electrical systems professionally than I do with bicycles.
Because there's a really young Seth Alvo on Google that's like doing videos for
haunts me every day. So here's the backstory behind that. So I was working for this company called Moving On Sounds, and they used to, in the 90s when car stereo was a thing, they did car stereo stuff, and that's how they made their money. They were huge.
Right.
Then as car stereo became not a thing, which all it took was include a CD player in a car from the factory, which
right.
for some reason happened 15 years after CDs became popular, but that's beside the point. Anyway, once car companies caught on that people weren't using cassettes anymore and they started including CD players, the car stereo industry got decimated. And the other reason the car stereo industry got decimated was the internet. All the stuff they were selling on the store and making decent profit on just became zero. People will come in with a heap of stuff they got from the internet and pay them to install it, and they make $0. So I worked there once they had started transitioning to doing more work for fleets and municipalities and just doing electrical work on vehicles. Mm-hmm. But we still had the showroom with the car stereo stuff, and it was still a topic. People were still putting subwoofers and speakers and things in their car that they ordered from the internet. And so this company, Howcast, that was making how-to videos, reached out to Moving On Sounds. They talked to the owner, and they said, hey, can we do these videos there? And thousands of people are going to see them, and it could be a really good advertisement for your business. And so we said, okay. And they asked me my name and everything, and I was like, listen, this is about Moving On Sounds. It's not about me.
Right.
They totally ignored what I said. The person who filmed it was not the person we spoke to, and they spoke. So now it's like, Seth. Now it's everywhere. I'm out there explaining things about car stereos. Now, why was I the person to do it? I worked in the office, but it's a car stereo place. Like not everybody is going to be well spoken. Yeah, and like, I was kind of the best candidate to kind of talk about it. But at the time, I wasn't even a technician anymore.
Right.
So, but yeah, that exists.
So you're down there working on car stereos in Florida. What makes you decide to?
So that was in New York.
Oh, that was in New York. Oh, wow. So you were really young then, huh?
Yeah.
So whenever you were down, what year did you start the channel?
2015, very early 2015.
I know whenever I looked this up a long time ago, like the time that you started your channel was about the same time that I bought the domain for BIKER.com. And I was building that website to do like kind of like these trail explanations, let's just say, because it wasn't really video, wasn't really a big thing. You know what I mean? Like not super big, at least as far as like mountain biking goes. And my plan at the time was like this guy that used to do like all these like write-ups of trails around here, he stopped taking care of his site, but it was like a really good resource. So I was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to like take a bunch of pictures of all these trails, and then I'm building this site. And then you started seeing the GoPros and stuff. And I was like, oh, I can put a GoPro on. I'll take some video for this site. And I took all this video, and holy cow, then I learned about editing. And it just like, I had like all of a sudden a terabyte of video and like no want or need to edit any of it. So that website and idea just was like one of those things that me and my buddies would talk about whenever I was drinking. So you actually started, and what made you do that?
I've probably answered this question 10 different ways. When I was a web developer, when I was working on my web development company, working from home, I worked 7 days a week. I worked late into the night, and that's just how I work when I do anything. Yeah. And then at a certain point, I got really good at it, and I started having free time. And I was a certain point, I was like, I don't work on the weekends anymore. I don't work past 6 anymore.
Yeah.
I start at 10 and I end at 6, and then I turn my phone off, and I have weekends off, Saturday and Sunday. I would do normal people stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And had to fill it with some other kind of work. So I started this YouTube channel. And at the time, I didn't really know what a YouTube channel was. I didn't know. I thought that everybody used YouTube the same way that I use YouTube, which is I see a video pop up and I watch it and I get sucked into the wormhole. And then eventually I'm done watching YouTube and I go to bed. I didn't know that people subscribed to channels and followed creators and waited for their videos every week. That wasn't even, I didn't even understand that that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I thought, hey, I can post YouTube videos, I can review products, and then as I get better at it, maybe I can turn it into something. And I was thinking I was going to turn it into something really small because nobody's going to watch a video that I post, right? Like only this many, that only happens to this many people, which it does. But I didn't think that I could possibly be one of those people. So when I started posting videos,
go for it.
Yeah, when I started posting videos, people were like, man, you should have way more subscribers. And I'm like, who subscribes to stuff? Then you get emails and then it's like, you know, like nobody was just actually does that. And I started getting more regular viewers and I started seeing the same people in the comments and I started to understand what YouTube was.
Yeah.
And of course I was posting a couple times a week and the videos were 2.5 minutes long. Like I could film it and edit it all in the same day. Like no big deal. And I didn't care what the shots came out with like and stuff, but I learned what YouTube was while starting a YouTube channel. I learned that people want to see you post a video again. I learned that you start looking at the statistics and you want your last video to perform better. You want your next video to perform better than your last video. All those things were foreign to me. All those things were new. And so it was this wormhole I started getting sucked into. And by the time I got up to 10,000 subscribers, I was like, maybe I should try monetizing this. Like maybe I should apply for monetization and turn this on. And back then, you could just start a YouTube channel and apply for monetization right away. Yeah. You didn't have to get a minimum of anything.
Right. They were just they wanted to monetize anybody.
I had 10,000 subscribers and I was like, all right, let me apply for monetization. Like maybe it'll be like $14 or something at the end of the month. Yeah. Because the only people who probably make anything are the ones that are getting trillions of views on every single video. Right. Man, was I wrong. Yeah. So now I could start investing in camera gear. Yeah. Every cent of it went back into the channel. So it's like, okay, now I can start buying camera gear. Now I'm going to get a new computer too, because I can justify it for the editing. Right. Yeah, totally. You know, I had the web development company, but I had everything I needed. I couldn't justify buying cameras and more computers and hard drives and things until I flipped that monetization switch. And that's when things really took off. Because now I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If I could keep growing at this level, then maybe I could like fire a few of my clients on the web development company and spend more time on this. Yeah. And it kept shifting until it was like 50-50. Right. And that's when I moved to Asheville and shut down my web development company, which was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, hands down. Way more scary than the white line. Yeah. You told me that your family thought you were completely insane. My family was pretty supportive, but people were like, make sure you know what you're doing. You know, what are you going to fall back on if this doesn't work? And it's like, I don't know. At that point, you had a couple 100,000 subscribers, didn't you? I had a couple of 100,000 subscribers when I closed my web development company. So I played it safe. Yeah. As I play things. Right. I'm pretty responsible when it comes to making sure I don't drive myself into financial ruin. Yeah, you know, I'm pretty like shoot from the hip for most of the stuff, but fiscally, I'm pretty cautious that way too, where it's like, it has to make a lot of sense before I'm gonna like jump in, you know? Yeah, every piece of data, every prediction that I had made from early on, I blew that prediction out of the water. I outperformed everything I predicted up to that point. And the predictions I was making at that point, when I closed my web development company, I was like, even worst case scenario, this is going to be better.
Yeah.
From a quality of life standpoint, I'm going to do something I'm really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to take a huge step back to take a step forward, but I'm going to have all week to do it. So it's not going to be like I'm juggling 2 jobs at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I was just so burnt out when I was doing both of them. And yeah, everybody's kind of worried, but I was really excited about it. I was like giddy, like, okay. And yeah, did it. It worked.
How did you originally get into the web development stuff?
That I really did just kind of fall into. When I was working at the car stereo place, I was helping them with their marketing. I was helping them with everything. We were designing products even. And I learned a lot of it there because they had nobody else to try and do it. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of became in charge with it, and I learned to code, and I learned all sorts of stuff. And then I started taking on side projects, and then those people wanted more projects, and then they would tell a friend that I did it. And before you know it, I was just like, I had to start a company just to do all the invoicing and everything. And then, like I do everything, I worked 7 days a week at it. I solicited for more clients. I visited business networking groups. I got a personal assistant, and I grew it. So,
and web was like in that time frame too. Web was pretty easy to make some pretty good money and not have to.
Yeah.
Not
anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But at that point, I mean, because I taught myself how to code too. Originally, I wanted to take a class at school, and it just didn't like line up. And I was like, well, I'm gonna.
At schools are in a constant state of teaching what was popular 20 years ago.
Yeah. So basically, for me, I was just like, well, I'm going to take the time that I would have sat in that class, and I'm just going to start learning how to do it online. And it got real easy to get to a point where you could like build a website for somebody and make a fair amount of money. So it was like, definitely for me, it was like a side gig. I ended up getting more into like networking and stuff like that. But I can definitely understand how that just kind of like steamrolled on its own.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it kind of lends itself to understanding, the web, and then kind of getting into YouTube as well. So
totally.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. This stuff was easy for me to learn.
Right. It seems like there's a lot of guys with channels that have IT or ITS kind of backgrounds.
Absolutely. Well, also when you have an IT background, you have generally the freedom to work on something like a YouTube channel. So all jobs, you're working only a certain percentage of the time, right? Totally. Like, except for waiters and waitresses, they work the entire, and doctors.
Somebody that's like manufacturing something, like they can't walk away from a machine.
Yeah, or you can't leave the machine. But most office jobs, like really calculate how much of the day you're actually working on something, right?
I know I read some study before, and it was like people actually work like 3 or 4 hours out of the day compared to the 8 that they're there.
Yeah,
like
right.
The rest of the time,
and there are definitely exceptions, but like, come on, most people aren't working the whole day. But when you're in IT, nobody understands what you do all day.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
You could be doing nothing, and they'd be afraid to fire you because everything's going to fall apart. So it's like you could just be working on a YouTube video and nobody would know. Right. But at the time that so you do have a lot of people in IT. Now, I had actually gotten to an efficient point where I had a couple of days per week that I could work on stuff. But if I was working in a real office, nobody would have any idea what I was doing. So
when you started the channel, like, did you just like, you were like, oh, I want to make videos about bikes because I like riding bikes? Or were you like, what should I make a channel about? Like, did you have that conversation with yourself?
Oh, no, I never thought about that. I just thought, I want to do, I don't really remember what the original thought process was. It was probably affiliate linking. Like I thought, because I had clients who did that and they had blogs and stuff like that, and they were doing okay. And so I thought, maybe if I could learn how to make these videos and build up a backlog of them, if each of them just makes a few bucks a month, then maybe I could take care of my car payment. So actually the motivation was money.
Yeah.
And then, when I started doing it, that went out the window.
Every money that you make, you just spend on gear.
Yeah, and then I started just spending all the money on gear because you get addicted to making the videos because when you go into YouTube, nobody expects, let's put it this way. If you go into making YouTube videos and you actually think anybody's going to watch them, then you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Like I went in thinking nobody's going to watch these videos. Like there's going to be a trickle of people watching these videos. And then people watched them. And so it was so exciting. You got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Your subscribers will hold you accountable. You have to keep making videos.
One of my first subscribers was MTB Savant. Do you know who that guy is?
Yeah.
So he was one of my
very good creator.
One of my first subscribers that wasn't my friend, right? So, and he was like, great video, dude. And I was like convinced that he was just a troll. I was like, why would this guy think that my video was any good? You know, like, who is this dude? You know, like, there's no way. Like, I totally didn't believe it. But I did walk around my house and tell everybody I was famous. So speaking of being famous, I was looking up a little bit before I got started. And on Google, apparently, like when you search somebody's name, it only goes out like 16 pages. So, and then it's like, if you really want more, we can search in a different manner, right? So I searched Tom Hanks, and he's got all 16 pages are Tom Hanks, like down to the last one. You have 8 pages, dude. You're like halfway there to be.
I'm halfway to Tom Hanks.
Yeah, dude. It's got to be crazy, man. Because I'm telling you, I have what, like 8,000 subscribers, but man, everywhere I go, like mountain bike wise, like I run into people. For you to be at what 2 million now, basically.
It's something like 1.89 or something.
Yeah, who's counting, right? So like, but I mean, at that point, I mean, you're getting recognized like in the airport or like pretty much anywhere that you go.
Yeah.
That's definitely not something that you think about when you start a YouTube channel. Like I never thought that I would be at a restaurant and somebody would come up to me and be like, "Biker," and it's happened. You know, I'm like, what the hell? Like that was not like you don't even process that as part of like why you're starting a channel.
You don't expect that could ever possibly happen.
So how do you deal with it where you're at now?
Somebody says hello, I say hello back. If they want to take a picture, I take a picture with them. I'm genuinely happy to see them.
Yeah.
There are times when obviously don't come up to me, like I'm having dinner with my wife.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a conversation and people still do. And then I'm like a little annoyed, but I probably don't show it. But most of the time somebody comes up to me, it's just cool. You're into my videos. I work really hard on those. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no, I'm with you there.
There are times when it can the events are where it gets tiring. It gets really tiring, like especially at Sea Otter. It's like back to back to back to back. It's like, wait, I need to go to the bathroom. I've been trying to go to the bathroom for 2 hours. And then every time I try to leave, there's the next person.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you feel like, wow, I just met a whole bunch of people. I have a clear image of who my audience is. And it always ends up being a good experience, even if it becomes a little tiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing I like about Sedona Mountain Bike Festival is it never really gets that tiring. It's like way lower key.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I try to explain it to people all the time.
Ever.
If there's only one event that you could go to, and even if you talk to a lot of people in the bike industry, they'll tell you that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one to go to, man.
Sedona Mountain Bike Festival is hands down. Like when Sea Otter was canceled this year, I was like,
yeah, whatever.
I was conflicted.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't bother me much at all. Honestly, like it's cool to go down there and kind of see all the vendors and stuff. But
I don't know about you, but I don't really ride that much at Sea Otter.
I didn't even take a bike last year because I was like, I don't even care about riding. Riding down there sucks. Like,
and if I was traffic and everything, it's like
if I was gonna ride in that area, I'd drive to like Santa Cruz's. So it's like, well, what's the point of going to Sea Otter from turn around, go back?
Yeah, what do you want to do at a racetrack if you can go to Santa Cruz? But yeah, Sea Otter is not so much about riding. It's more about the products and the vendors and the events and the races. Yeah, and that's less, well, my channel does have a lot to do with products, but it's just not as fun for everybody, I don't think. Yeah.
I mean, Sedona has some just great trails that are right there. It's like you don't even have to have a car to go to them. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool that way. Definitely a lot of fun to be had there.
Totally.
What's What's one of the questions that you get asked the most that you're just like, man, if I have to answer this question? Like, you know, did you ever watch that movie, Aladdin, the old Disney movie?
Aladdin?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So you know that little parrot that was played by like Gilbert Godfrey? He's like, if I have to eat one more damn cracker.
That's right. Gilbert Godfrey was the parrot.
Just completely over it. So like, what's that question where you're like, if I have to eat one more damn cracker?
I don't know that anything sticks out. Yeah. When somebody asks me, hey, wait, you're the YouTube guy, right? Like if I get that, like somebody who kind of knows who I am, but they don't really follow the channel, that's kind of annoying because it's like, what am I supposed to answer? It's like, yeah, I'm the YouTube guy.
That's me. Anything else?
But one time somebody was like, hey, wait, aren't you like single track sampler? Somebody asked me, it was somebody, it was like single track sampler, skills will fill or something. And I was like, yep.
Just
like, oh, cool, good to meet you. Can I get a picture with you? I was like, yeah, and then just went about the day.
That would be awesome if they tagged Alex on it or something. Like, I met Alex from Single Track.
Well, that's why I did it. I thought it'd be funny.
That's hilarious.
When they mistag it.
That's awesome. So obviously you're pretty busy with your channels now. You have more than one. What else do you like to do for fun? I mean, I like to go like play paintball. I like to ski. I like to do some other things. I actually don't find myself doing those things that much, but I do have other things that I like.
It's very limited. I'm going to be honest. It's very limited, but I can dig in and tell you a few things I do. So obviously now that I'm building Berm Peak Express, I don't have free time.
Yeah,
I don't have a day when I can do things. People probably think I'm just blowing them off all the time because they text me, hey, you want to go do this? And I can't.
I think this is my perception that you're a pretty driven person. So I know I can't stop something that I want to do. Like,
no.
And so to me, if I was in your position, I would get up every day and go out there and work on it because it's not done yet.
Right. If I take it for granted, I'm the biggest idiot ever. If I'm not working on it constantly, then I just don't appreciate it. So yeah, of course I'm working all the time, but like I get done at a certain amount of time. And even if I'm really, really tired, I can't go straight to bed. I have to wind down. Mm-hmm. And I watch YouTube for sure. Let me pick up my phone and tell you, or I could see here what YouTube channels I watch. So I'm always watching different YouTube channels. There's only a few that I watch like every single video that comes out. Like I have subscribers that are like, no matter what you post, I watch every single video of yours. And I'm like so honored that I'm that channel because I've seen, you know, tens of thousands of YouTube videos probably at this point. And there's only like this many channels that I watch every single video. Yeah. Project Farm is one of them.
What are they doing?
This guy tests different things like, can you run a gas engine on WD-40?
Yeah.
Mess around with the carburetor until it does. And then it'll run out. So he does all sorts of weird stuff. Which epoxy is the strongest? Like actually the strongest.
Right.
And he does these really good tests. I watch every single video that guy posts without exception. It's the nerdiest channel you've ever seen in your life. Another channel I really love is Matt's Off-Road Recovery. So he is a tow guy, but he's in Hurricane, Utah. And so people are stuck out on the sand dunes. They have a flipped Can-Am, and he's got to like flip it back over, get it on a trailer, drive the off-road trail to get it out. Like it's always a seriously complicated recovery that he has to do. And he's super nice
making that interesting though.
It's so interesting.
It's so interesting. I watched this guy like redo like a backhoe that was in the woods for like 40 years on some channel once. And I was like, why am I watching this?
But we all get sucked into restoration channels.
Yeah, it was like really cool. Like he was like digging the trees out of it. And then he's like, gets the thing started. Next thing you know, they're like driving it down the road. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
I might have even seen that one. Another channel that I watch every single video without fail, no exception, is My Mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a restoration channel.
Oh, yeah.
But this guy is on a different level.
Yeah.
So if he's doing a restoration, it could be missing parts, and he makes a new one. And I think he's from Switzerland. He doesn't speak the best English, so he puts the text on the screen. So it says this part is too damaged. I make new one. And then every episode, it's like, I make new one. He's got like shirts that say, I make new one. And it's awesome. He's just unbelievable restorations this guy does. And I find them very soothing and relaxing. And he doesn't post very often because these restorations probably take him weeks.
Yeah.
So when he posts one, it's going to be good.
Well, and then like how much footage is he going through? Like, that editing process is just a monster.
Oh, yeah. And it's a reductionary editing process because he's got to lay out everything in order and then whittle it down. So he's got 6 or 7 hours of footage that he's got to go through.
Right.
So Curtis and I edit opposite. Mm-hmm. Curtis edits the Berm Peak Express videos, and I edit the Seth's Bike Hacks videos, and we literally edit opposite. We have the opposite technique to editing. I start with an empty timeline. First I organize all my footage meticulously so that I can pull from it really quick. Mm-hmm. I make a voiceover, I lay it down, and I'll start from the beginning. So I start out with a whole bunch of footage. I dump it into a Final Cut Pro library. I title it the year and then the topic, right? Mm-hmm. Like 2020 snake pit skinny.
Right.
Then I meticulously organize all the footage with keyword collections in Final Cut Pro. And the reason that I do that first, the reason that that's the first thing I do is because it allows me to watch all the footage and learn the footage and know what's there. Yeah. Once I've watched it, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot that shot I got. Oh, that actually looks really good on video. I get all these ideas. Then I write my script.
Yeah.
So I write my script after I learn all the footage. Then I record the voiceover. Then I clean up the voiceover, make it sound perfect. Then I start editing. Now, when the editing process begins, I have an empty timeline. There's nothing on it. And by the time I move on to putting the next clip on there, that clip is color corrected and everything. Now, people would say that's really an inefficient way to edit. You should lay everything down first and then go back and detail it.
Yeah.
I knock out my edits pretty quick, actually. I think it's like 10, 15 hours on one edit.
That's funny. It's like everybody has a different way of doing it, man.
Yeah.
I just started doing voiceovers. So I used to like try to make sure that I talked enough in my videos that would be the clips that I was using. So now that I'm doing more voiceover, I don't voice over the whole thing. So I'll still cut into places where I'm talking on the trail or talking in front of the camera like that. Maybe more like how your Berm Peak videos are, kind of back and forth,
Right.
And, but I go through my footage and kind of just like anything that's interesting, I drop into the timeline in like a chronological order. Then I go back to the beginning and then I'm starting to write my script as I'm going through it and cutting in the stuff. And then I'll be like, oh, I need a B-roll or I need something from this other video that I did a long time ago. And I'll go grab that stuff and pull it in as I go. But I'm like writing the script like 2 sentences at a time as I'm recording it, cutting it in exactly. So I'm like finishing that process at the end of it. And it's a similar time frame as what you just said. Like it's just a different way to do it, man.
Yeah. Most of the time in my script, I'm cueing things that I know are going to be in the footage. And I'm doing it kind of ahead of time like that.
Yeah.
Where I know it's going to line up to something in the timeline.
Yeah.
And I just keep laying down clips over the voiceover. And then I keep rewatching it from the beginning up to the point I was at. And if at any point I get bored, and if any point I'm like, that doesn't work, I go back and change it until it's perfect. And I don't move on so I keep building the video from start to end until I feel like it's really interesting the whole way. And Curtis does it a completely different way. He takes every last bit of footage, lays it all out on the timeline. So he has like 2.5 hours of footage. And then he keeps whittling it down until it's concise. And then he goes back and polishes it up and puts in music and everything. And it makes sense for the type of videos that are on Berm Peak Express because he's actually following me around talking rather than like, I feel like a Seth's Bike Hacks video is almost like a short film. That might be giving it a little too much credit, but it's almost like
I see what you're saying.
It has more in common with a short film than it does a YouTube video. Whereas
it's like a lot of little B-roll shots and stuff like that. Yeah.
Whereas Berm Peak Express is a true YouTube video. Those are paying homage to the craft of YouTube. And that's where Curtis's background is in. And a lot of people like those videos even better. That's like the highlight of their week, the Berm Peak Express videos. And Curtis is a really talented producer. He knows how to make a YouTube video.
You guys are doing good together, man. You're like, honestly, like if it wasn't for you talking about him doing that, people would think that they were your edits. You know what I mean?
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I couldn't edit the Berm Peak Express videos as well as Curtis does. Yeah. My workflow is different from his. How do you
find somebody like that? It's not.
Well, we found him through a friend who is also a YouTuber, and they were sort of scaling back on the videos that they were doing and sort of going into semi-retirement. Yeah. And so he was getting less hours. So he started picking up some hours with me, and then he got more hours with me. And that's how it works. I kind of really lucked out with Curtis.
He rides too, right?
He does now. We got him on a mountain bike. We're going to get him on a little bit more, but if I was just looking for people who mountain bike to help me produce, then I would be seriously limited, especially locally. I needed somebody to come here, and I worked with Curtis for probably, I think it was 5 months before we released any videos together.
Really?
Yeah, because I had to train him, and I had to make sure that it was going to be like, I've had workers before, I've had employees before, colleagues. And one thing
with the channel or with just in general?
In general, web development, I had personal assistants and stuff.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people get an employee and they're like, I don't like the way they're doing this, and I'm trying to get them to do it the way I want. And it's like, sometimes it has to be that way. If you have a store or a restaurant or something and things have to be a certain way, but like, I find that you can't really get good work out of people unless you figure out what their strengths are and then figure out something you can have them do that plays on their strengths. Like, you ever get a job and you end up doing a job that didn't exist before you got there?
Yeah.
Like, I've had that before. Like, at the car stereo place, I was sitting next to the owner, helping him with marketing and doing all this website stuff and doing stuff that there wasn't that job description before. Right. And so when I hire people or take on people to help me with things, I like to come up with a job for them. Find a talented person that's in the vein of what I want to do, and then play on their strengths. So when I first hired Curtis, I wanted him to do Facebook. Facebook had monetization. There were a lot of people on Facebook that wanted more content. And I thought, well, if he takes my videos and whittles them down into a short, like 3-minute video that's like a square, we could put them on Facebook. It'll make people happy because they have a little more content. We could take outtakes and put it on there.
Yeah, totally.
And so we were trying to figure out a way to make that work. Eventually, we sort of did. We were just posting old videos and posting my weekly videos, and we were trying to come up with we scrapped like half the stuff we worked on. We didn't post anything because I just didn't feel like it really represented the channel. And then finally, we started trying to make those Berm Peak Express videos, and we actually scrapped a bunch of those too. I have some sitting on my computer that have never seen the light of day. And we eventually came up with a process that worked. And mind you, the entire 5 months was sickeningly expensive. And there were probably a lot of times where Curtis was like, what am I doing? What is my life? Like, is this even going to work? Am I going to have a job in a month? Right. And eventually figured out what he was good at, figured out all our camera. There's camera gear that I ordered because Curtis is like, we should be using this. And I'm like, let's try it, Right. And we built that channel together, and it's as much Curtis as it is me that built all that.
It's a great
and
channel.
Now I feel like we've got his strengths like to the max. Yeah. They're being utilized on Berm Peak Express.
I think the biggest perk to that channel is that your content can really be anything. So you can be like content that is not this subset of people on YouTube that are into mountain biking. Like it can be content about your wench on your getter, you know, and
that kind of scares me because now I'm like too mainstream.
Yeah, but I think it's good though, because then you have the ability. It's a bigger audience, you know.
It is.
So
we're trying to be mainstream.
Yeah, no, I think it, but I think it's still a Seth Bike Hacks channel though. I mean, it's still there. It's still bike stuff in there. I think it's just allowing you guys to like spread your wings a little bit. I think it's a great channel. It's funny you said that about people liking that channel so much, because I remember reading like some of the comments I think on your Patreon or something, and people saying that, and I was like, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that, you know.
It's those videos have to some degree allowed me to be more creative, because now we're in the sort of backyard trail vein. That's what everybody wants to see. And honestly, I'm passionate about it. I want to keep building out Berm Peak. But if I post a video about anything else, if I post a video on 10 products or something, people are like, we want the trail builds. We want some Berm Peak stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing that now.
You're never going to keep everybody happy, though. I mean, if you do this trail build, everybody's going to be over there complaining about, oh, you're getting it's him building the trails.
But they're right. Those videos are, people have grown to love those videos, and that is what they want to see. It throws them for a loop when I post something else. So I'm like, there's so many other things going on around here that we have to make content about. If I could just get just one day a week or just like one morning and have somebody else do most of the production work, we could film it all in one shot. It can't be some big project. It has to be something that we can do in a few hours. Like, you know, the
reorganizing your
reorganizing a storage unit. I was going to do that anyway. Why not film it? Lab up and film it. And like the grips video, we did that in 3 hours, right? Like it has to be something like that. And it turns out that people like that content. And because I have the help, and because we've done all the legwork of,
you guys are good storytellers.
Yeah, we came up with this process. You know how much stuff is cut out of those videos to make it concise and flowy and everything? It's you know?
I'm sure.
But people like it. So it's been working.
That's interesting. So a long time ago, when your channel is growing, you're trying to like kind of make things happen, you end up with this Diamondback sponsor. How'd that come together?
So at the time, sponsoring YouTubers in the biking world was not really a thing.
Yeah, not at all.
It really was not a thing. And the brand manager for Diamondback at the time sent me an email. He says, I'm from Diamondback Bicycles. And I said, you know, that's weird, because I was actually thinking about buying a Diamondback. I wanted to get a newer, more modern bike, and I was looking at some of their hardtails, and I was like, you know what? For the money, this looks pretty good. And he's like, let's get on a phone call. So we got on a phone call, and he's like,
so how many subs do you have at this point? Maybe like
130,000.
Oh, so it was pretty small then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So back then,
you've been working with them for a long time then.
Back then, Skills with Phil had like 10,000. So it was like,
yeah. This is like,
it was big.
Beginning, yeah.
The numbers now, 30,000 small. It wasn't small back then. It's
right.
YouTube's a different place. But anyway, he said, listen, I love what you do. We love what you do here. And we don't want you to change it. We just want to be involved somehow. And we want to help you somehow. And I had been contacted by some other companies and things and products and things. And they got it before it was even a thing. So before working with YouTubers was even a thing, they understood how it has to work. It can't be like, we're giving you a script that you have to parrot. It can't be like, we're going to tell you, we have to watch your video before you put it out. It has to be, we're behind you. We're in it. How can we help?
You got control, you know?
I was like, send me some freaking bikes, because I'm breaking these things left and right. Like, you know? So they sent me the B1KER Pro first, which I still have up on that wall as the murder machine. And they were really cool. And then as time went on, our relationship grew. Like now they're actually a true sponsor of the channel. You know, they actually help with my expenses and everything. And there's different people are in place now. They have a different brand manager now, but a lot of the people there still work there. And I think of Diamondback as almost coworkers. I know about some of their products before they come out. They ask us what colors we think. Like me and Eric, or like Eric's been with Diamondback for over a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
They ask us about the colors. They ask us what types of bikes we really want to see next year. I feel like those products are something that I helped work on.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I'm really proud of them, and it's like they've been part of the channel for long enough where it's like that. And it's the same thing. They're behind anything I want to do. So I've had other sponsors. I've worked with other companies. I've done ads. I still will in the future, but I think Diamondback will remain a constant.
That's good. That's good that you have a relationship with that. You know, one of the things that I enjoy about the companies that I decide to work with is that just like when they're companies that you can really stand behind. Like I never want to be in a spot that it's like trying to take something for money or for this like part or whatever. It's like when I talk about Cali Protectives and how much I love their stuff, like I freaking really love it. It's not somebody sent me something and I get these knee pads for free and that's why I'm telling you guys to buy them. It's like, no, these things are great. Like they're super comfortable.
Like Cali Protectives, everything they make. It's so comfortable.
Have you had a chance to like talk to the owner?
I've never talked to the owner. I talked to their marketing manager and we've exchanged some emails on and off. I think they've sent me a couple of things here and there, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good fit. I don't know if it's a good fit for the channel or whether they don't think I'm a good fit or whatever, but honestly, I don't really want to take on a protective gear sponsor unless it's something where I like their entire line, you know?
Yeah, no, the main reason that I asked that is just because Brad is like a super cool guy and like really passionate about what he does. Like you wouldn't expect somebody that's like in my head, I don't know why I would have thought this, but like somebody that's making helmets, like he's really concerned about people being safe, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I didn't build that helmet that way. Like maybe when people started first doing like detachable, like chin bars, he's like, I don't think it's safe. I'm not doing that. There's no way I'm building that. I'm like, dude, but that's like what everybody wants. He's like, I don't care. I don't think it's safe. You know, like, and then he would say, hey, well, these people, I think their design's good. It's just like, I can stand behind somebody like that. You know what I mean?
That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I had this thing that I was going to ask you. Where is this at? Friendly heads up, whatever. We're going to do this share screen thing and see what happens. See if I can not like make this horrible. Where did it go? We'll go to, hang on, cancel that. A Chrome tab. See how much I can fumble through this. But since we were talking about it. So here is a really old Instagram picture. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So there's another show that I watch on YouTube, and they always pull some old Instagram picture. And here you're actually talking about Cali, and that they kind of saved it. What happened here? For those of you people that are listening to this as a podcast, this is a picture of Seth from 2016 with just mud splattered all over his face, and the caption read out, "Shout out to Cali Protectives for keeping my head safe. That could have been so much worse."
And you can see my head's the only part of the picture that's clean.
Yeah, it's just definitely your face is just covered in mud. Let me get back over here.
Yeah, so that was my first Maya since.
Sorry, I accidentally pulled you off. That was your first what?
That was my first Maya helmet, and really good helmet. I've bought 2 of them since. Every time I crash in one, throw it out and get a new one. And that was when I took the BMX on the mountain bike trail in Florida.
Oh, yeah, I remember that video. Okay.
So like, you know, a street BMX generally doesn't have brakes. And so I just had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And some things I didn't figure out so good.
You definitely figured out how to stop with your face, right?
Yeah. So that video I remember that video doing fairly well.
Is that the one where you had the broom and Drama was chasing you with the broom?
No, that was the Drama Broom video.
That was
Can a French bulldog be a trail dog?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's good stuff, man. good God, now I'm stumbling here. There was something else that was like right on the, oh, you know, what is something that you look back on that you wish you could have done different or you would have done different with the channel?
With the channel?
Yeah.
I think if I had a time machine and I could go back and do something different, I would be afraid to, because it's going so well right now. But the thing that I've sort of
like, man, maybe I should have monetized sooner, or maybe I should have started Berm Peak a year ago.
So first of all, and there's a really good example on the screen of why this is a problem. The name of the channel, Seth's Bike Hacks. It originally started out, it was just Bike Hacks, and then that domain was taken. So when it started growing, I had to change it to Seth's Bike Hacks. And there's an apostrophe in it. It's a mess. And so everybody gets it wrong. Even you got it wrong.
Yeah.
On the screen. So
You know what? It's funny because right before I changed the URL, because I had the URL wrong on the website there, and I was like, oh crap! It was like a minute before we were supposed to get on. I'm like, run upstairs real quick, edit, and I didn't catch that.
People have been watching me for years get it wrong, and when I look at more people search for Seth Bike Hacks on YouTube than Seth's Bike Hacks.
Yeah.
More people search for the wrong one than the right one. So
it's all about the name. The name's the one thing you would have changed.
So being with like the letters that are in Seth's Bike Hacks, can you imagine reading that domain name to somebody on the phone when you're trying to give them your email address?
Yeah, it's a pain.
I'm like, S like Sam, T like Thomas, like every single letter in it sounds like another letter. So on the phone, anytime somebody's like, can I have your email address? And I'm like, it'll be easier if you just give me yours and you just reply to it. Like it's a constant battle. And I've spoken to people who say, hey, I didn't watch your channel at first because it sounded like it was going to be something stupid, like Seth's Bike Hacks. And now it would be better off being like Seth's Backyard or Seth's Garage or something like that. But like, I don't know what would happen if I did that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean,
and I feel like Berm Peak is actually a stronger brand than Seth's Bike Hacks.
I put a lot of time into coming up with B1KER, and it's similar though. Like, because I wanted something, I had web experience like you. So I'm like, I know finding a good domain is tough. That's a big part of it. I knew I wanted to do the marketing part, and I wanted to have a slogan that went along with it. And the B1KER came, I was like, what's a good slogan? I'm going to spell it with a 1 so I can get a shorter domain. And then I'll make that tagline. It only takes a bike to be a biker.
It's still insane that you got that domain.
Yeah. Right. So like, but instead now everybody calls me everything but B1KER. It's like B1KER. It's like B1KER 1, B1KER B1, B1 B1KER. Like it's a million things. And it's funny. I start every video out with like, what's up, YouTube? This is Robert, and this is the B1KER channel. It's like, it's funny though. I think the point of what I'm saying is that no matter what, people are going to screw it up.
Totally.
It is.
Totally.
It totally is what it is.
I don't really proceed kind of nickel and diming my decisions and worrying about how I did something, as long as it's working now. Because if I would have agonized over every decision I've made over the last 5 years, I don't know where I would be. I guess I would be where I was at 3 years ago.
Right.
It just takes too much time to agonize over decisions. So I just kind of move forward. I just decide something, stick to it, and move forward. And that's it.
Later I'm going to punch myself in the face at least 3 or 4 times for not having your name right on the screen. That was my chance. I was going to be famous.
But most people get it wrong.
Then that's why
family members get it wrong.
I just wanted to make sure you had your stuff together. So you have these 2 channels now. How is that juggling the 2 of them?
Well, we have a workflow, so it's working pretty well. Curtis is working from home now. That has absolutely decimated my free time. Yeah. He used to help filming and everything. I would have him on 6 days a week right now. Yeah. And He's working from home. So he comes here once a week to pick up, he goes into the garage and he picks up the footage.
Yeah.
And then he goes and does everything from home. We're doing it remotely and he's uploading things for me to look at. And it's like,
when your internet
we had his whole computer set up over there with the RAID and everything. Now he's got the RAID back at his house. And it's like, when we had our whole routine going, it was working great. Now it's a little tough. And like I said, I actually work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And so it's tiring. On Friday, I didn't post a Seth's Bike Hacks video. I was burnt out.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that we started Berm Peak Express, because obviously I'm going to have to work. I didn't have any free time before we started that. And now I really don't. So I knew what I was getting myself into. I said, if I have 2 channels and I have all this content coming out, and Berm Peak Express actually takes up way less of my time. I just have to come up with an idea, prepare for it, and execute it. And then it's pretty much Curtis. Curtis sends me one take. I go through it and I come up with notes of things to change. Hey, we should really include this. That was a shot of a bottom bracket, not a headset, things like that. And then it doesn't take a tremendous amount of my time. So if I can't post a video on Seth's Bike Hacks, at least my most devoted subscribers get something. And I feel like if we had to clock a couple of, save up a couple of Berm Peak Express videos in advance so we could both go on vacation or something and still post them every week, we could do that. That's impossible to do with a Seth's Bike Hacks video. There's no way I can make 2 of them in a week. It just, there is not, we'd have to slow the Earth's rotation for it to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Good.
Yeah.
God, I just had this great question. It was amazing. You wouldn't believe how good it was. And then I forgot it.
Maybe it'll pop up.
Yeah. Who knows, man? I got the attention span of like a crackhead or something like that, just all over the place. Let's see here. So, man, I don't know what just happened there.
So before I came to do the podcast here, we were using the golden hour light. So when we're filming, like today was super sunny out. There were not a cloud in the sky. So after about 10:30 in the morning, it's useless. There's nothing you can do. You can't shoot. You literally can't. In California, you could. In Nevada, you could. But here in the woods, you can't. And you always see you look up YouTube videos like how to shoot in bright sun, and every single tutorial is like out in a parking lot, someplace where there's no shadows. And it's like, you're just trying to put reflectors on people's faces. And there are no tutorials on how to shoot in the woods when it's really sunny out. You know why? It's because you can't. Yeah. So you go back and look the footage and you're like, I can't use this.
Yeah, that's funny because out here in California, we struggle with that because I'll be in the woods and out of the woods and into the woods and out of the woods. And it's like you have these really bright sections where the sun's coming through and shining on the trail. It's just it doesn't make really pretty footage. And I look at those guys riding up there in Bellingham and it's like, man, it's just perfect to film in there all the time. And it's funny because that's actually part of the question that I was going to ask you that I dropped the ball on a minute ago was, is there a video that you've really, really wanted to make and it just doesn't work out? Because for me, I've filmed a night ride video 10 times. And if at best, the rough cut made it onto my Patreon and I was like, screw it, that's all I'm doing. I can't pull it together. And it's I don't know how to get the story right, or the filming sucks because the color's not good, or you can't, you know what I mean? So is there one of those for you?
I've made a couple of night ride videos and one of them did really well, the one with the lights, and the other one didn't do great. But there are videos that I really want to make that I haven't been able to do, but I can't think of any of them right now. There are videos in Europe and around the world that I would like to do, but it's it would be I would go bankrupt even doing one of them, because it's I can't make my money back. There's no way I could go overseas and make my money back, because I would have to not post a video the week before. So I'd miss an entire week of posting videos. Then I have to spend the money to go out somewhere to do it, and then nobody's going to watch it. Because anytime I post a travel video, it gets 0 views. It gets like no views whatsoever, except for I've had a couple Whistler videos that have done good. But as soon as somebody sees that I was somewhere besides my backyard, they just don't watch it. And so I could do it for myself, but if I'm going to do it for myself, I want to just take the week off and enjoy it and not
just enjoy it. Yeah, I hear you.
Because if I were to go someplace and make a video, it'd be 2 full days of traveling, 3 full days of editing, and then maybe I'll get 2 days actually riding and filming the entire time. So people are like, oh, you were in Wales. Did you ride such and such a place? And it's like, no, dude, of course not. I ran one place and I rode one place and filmed the whole time, and then I had to go home.
Yeah.
So
well, people don't think about like people don't understand the filming process to like make a video. Like they think you just put on a GoPro, you go out there, you ride for 45 minutes, and then you got a video. You know, and
everybody would have 2 million subscribers. That's all you have.
Right? Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of work that's going into it. I mean, even whenever like the other day we were watching some show, the lady was watching some cooking show, and it's like they're doing it from home. And for me, I'm like, who's holding the camera? I wonder if they have a light guy there. You know what I mean? Like, like to her, she was just like, oh, this chick's cooking in her backyard. And I'm like, there's more going on here than what it seems. You know what I mean? Like, is there a sound guy? Is there, you know what I mean? And like you look at certain mountain bike videos, you're like, dude, that guy had to walk up that hill like probably 10 times to get those 4 different angles to come down that hill once. Cause I know he didn't carry 6 cameras out there, you know?
I mean, you ever have a friend who says, you're like, okay, I'm coming over your house. All right, when are you going to be here? I'll be there in 10 minutes. And then it takes him an hour to get there. Okay, so there are people with that mindset who watch my videos and they're like, why did that take you so long to do? Because they're remembering the time that they did a rake and ride, and there were no rhododendrons in the way, and they didn't have to film it, and they didn't have to carry any supplies down. And they said it took them 2 hours, but it actually took them 6. Right, and they're not really looking realistically how long things actually take when you actually execute them. And they're thinking what it would be in the best case scenario if you didn't have to film it, and then they're actually taking some time off of that. So it's crazy.
Funny how that goes. So we're like really close to 2 hours here, man. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that you've taken the time to sit down and chat with me, because I know I was chasing you around for a couple of years before you finally said yes. So before we go, what would be the kind of advice that you would give to somebody that's, you know, somebody out there that's thinking about starting a channel and how they would go about it?
Think long and hard about sustainability. How are you going to do this every week? Because consistency is the most important thing on YouTube. If you can post a video every single week, they will automatically get better and better and better, because you're going to get more and more practice, and you're going to get more and more feedback from your audience. You're going to learn more and more things. So if all you do is just make a video every week, you will eventually succeed at it. So the most important thing is figuring out how you're going to make content every single week. If you can't figure out a way where that's realistically going to work, unfortunately, you've already failed. So that's it.
You think
come up with something you can repeat.
Key to be every week then.
Don't build a different feature in your backyard, a different mountain bike feature in your backyard every week, because there's no way anybody could keep doing that every single week.
Right. Yeah, I hear you there, man. Well, like I said, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna real quick here just let everybody know that if you've made it the whole way through this, next week is gonna be Sunday at 5 p.m. again. And I'm going to have Alex from Single Track Sampler on. It's going to be pretty fun. He was on my 2nd episode of season 1. So I thought that was pretty exciting to have him come back. I'm just going to real quick throw up that B1KER Bar Baller Project 321 code, because if you want to save 10% off of buying some hubs, you should probably do that. Otherwise, swing by Tasco and check out those new shorts, because they're pretty comfortable. I've been wearing them all day and I'm not over it yet. So apparently they're doing something right. The last thing, and just so that you guys can keep this in mind. This is a biker bar, and that's part of the biker channel. So there's definitely something that needs to be said. It only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one. Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, Robert.